The message left the Nellery homeworld with soft light and softer words. It was wrapped in symbols of peace, hope, and understanding, delivered through interstellar pulse waves, carried on golden frequencies, and guided by the highest diplomats. The Nellery people had. Their scientists calculated it would take exactly 11 days to reach Earth, the mysterious blue planet known across the stars as the home of the humans' Deathworlders, as most species whispered in half fear, half respect. But the Nellery had done their research. Earth had not been part of any recent wars. Its fleets remained hidden, its channels silent. To the Nellery, that silence meant one thing: peace. And now the time had come to connect. We seek peace with Earth, the message said in 57 languages, translated 3 times for clarity. We offer alliance, mutual growth, understanding, and friendship. We come in harmony. Across the galaxy, other races watched with curiosity. The Nellery had become known for their diplomacy. They had resolved conflicts between dozens of fractured worlds. Their offer to Earth seemed wise, if not bold. For those who remembered the older days, the war days, the dangerous days, the idea of calling Earth so openly sparked cold fear. And that fear was not misplaced. 11 days after transmission, the Nellery diplomats waited in their high council tower, surrounded by floating gardens and songs of peace. The central platform had been cleared, prepared for a visual response. They expected a soft reply, perhaps a diplomatic envoy, maybe even an invitation to speak directly with Earth's cultural representatives. Instead, the screen stayed black. No sound, no light, no transmission, only static. Then the stars outside began to bend. Ships noticed gravitational distortion on the outer edge of the system. Patrol units were sent to investigate. Only one made it back damaged, smoking, the pilot half crazed. All he could say was, "They're here," but they said nothing. Across the Nellery capital.com turned to confusion. Their sensors picked up something: massive energy signatures approaching at speeds far beyond standard warp. No official transmission. No identification. Just movement. Deliberate, silent, cold. Then the main sensor grid, one of the most advanced in the galaxy, picked up the first shape breaching the system's edge. It was not a scout. It was a warship. Not just any warship. Its size dwarfed the Nellery's own fleet. Its black hull shimmered with unknown alloys, marked with the ancient Earth symbol for observation and the even older symbol for judgment. Behind it came another, then another, a dozen, 100. An entire formation of Deathworlder ships began to arrive, its one moving in perfect silence. No weapons armed, no shields raised, no greetings sent, just presence, like giants walking. Through a forest, panic spread through Nellery leadership. This wasn't diplomacy. This was intimidation. No demands, nothing. Just ships. Heavy, ancient, and prepared for war. Some Nellery believed it was a test. Others said Earth misunderstood their signal. Some of the younger officers even suggested Earth might be protecting them from an unseen threat. But deep in the ancient history vaults, a record was pulled, a hidden file that only the oldest scholars knew about. A record from the time before Earth went silent. A record that spoke of what humanity had become after the war of Asha civilization that had nearly destroyed itself, then rebuilt itself with only one guiding law: never let history repeat. And in their silence, they had created something terrible. Earth had not forgotten how to make war. It had simply chosen to hide those who could do it best. They called them the Deathworlders, not because Earth was dangerous, but because they were forged by fire, conditioned by extinction, trained to act when others talked. And now, those same warriors had come to answer a message of peace, not with words, but with presence. It was their way of asking, why now? Why us? Why peace now, after all this time? And the Nellery had no answer ready. At the capital's edge, ship landed, massive, silent. It bore the mark of Earth's oldest fleet echo. Division, a single ramp lowered. From the thick mist, one figure walked forward. Not a diplomat, not an ambassador, but a human soldier in obsidian armor, helmeted, silent, unreadable. The Nalari delegation stepped forward with caution. Their lead diplomat, a silver-skinned elder named Valerith, raised her hand in greeting. "Welcome," she said. "We are honored." The human cut her off, not with words, but by slowly lifting a small device. It projected the Nalari's original peace message into the air. The soldier pointed to it, then pointed to the stars, then finally spoke one sentence. Calm, cold, direct. You call for peace. Where are your weapons? Silence fell like a hammer. The Nalari delegation didn't know how to respond. It was as if the human expected them to prove their peace through readiness. Passivity. That's when they realized something horrible. Earth didn't trust words, trusted patterns. And then Nalara's message looked exactly like the ones Earth had received in the centuries before war. Back then, all threats had come with soft words first. Back then, peace offers were just delays for weapon building. Earth had learned. Earth had changed. And now, it had sent its hounds not to talk but to verify. And if the Nalari were hiding anything at all, it would not end with negotiation. It would end with fire. Back on board the lead ship, the human commander watched the planet through holoscreens. Her name was Commander Tyra Voss, third-generation Deathworlder, descendant of Earth's last warborn fleet. She read the peace message again. Her face didn't move. She spoke to her second-in-command. No weapons raised. No planetary shields. No combat protocol. The officer nodded. So they're peaceful? Voss shook her head. Or clever. Only two reasons to drop your guard. Trust or bait. Her eyes narrowed, and I don't believe in either. She gave the order. Prepare the ghost protocol. The ship's lights dimmed. The galaxy didn't know it yet. Started its investigation, and Earth's investigations. It's always ended in fire. The stars above Neller Prime changed shape. At first, it was just a flicker noticed by most, dismissed by scientists as gravitational lensing. But then, the constellation known as the Crown of Light disappeared completely, swallowed by something that wasn't supposed to be there. Dozens of alien astronomers stared at their data, blinking in disbelief. Their scopes weren't broken. Their instruments weren't misaligned. Something massive had entered the system, something that didn't belong. What followed wasn't a message. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't even sound. What followed was the silence of ships the size of cities, black, cold, cloaked in the deepest stealth Earth had ever built. The Deathworlder fleet had arrived. And with it came a pressure something felt in the bones of every being on Neller Prime. Civilians froze in the streets. Diplomats locked down their towers. Even military officers forgot their training as dread. Took hold. It wasn't fear of war. It was the feeling that war had already been decided. And they were on the wrong side. Orbiting above the planet, the Deathworlder fleet began to spread. No comes, no introductions, just movement. Every human vessel operated with mechanical precision, silent coordination through encrypted signals no one else could crack. The aliens watched in horror as one formation began to circle the outer moons. Another hovered above the capital. Third dropped into the planet's upper atmosphere, casting shadows larger than mountains. Then, a new ship arrived. This one different, larger, colder. The Obsidian Lance Earth's flagship. Once thought retired, now awakened, it didn't orbit. It loomed. Its engines hummed with power beyond modern understanding. Its hull bore names etched in steel. Soul War, Ash Protocol, Fury Unbound. Void Pact. These were not names of honor. They were warnings. Inside the command center, Commander Tyra. Voss stood silent. Her fleet was in position. Her orders were unclear, but her mission was always same. Confirm the threat. Remove the risk. Preserve the future at any cost. Down below, chaos brewed behind diplomatic smiles. The Nellari Council held emergency meetings in silence. Eyes darted, voices low, questions unspoken. They had studied Earth. They knew of humanity's wars. but they never expected the response to peace to be so violent. So one dash-sided. High Counselor Valerith paced the silver hall, her hands trembling. They haven't fired. One aide offered. Maybe they're just watching us. But everyone in that room knew better. When Deathworlders watched, it wasn't to admire, it was to measure. And the question now was simple. Had the Nellerie already failed their test? In the streets, citizens gathered to look at the sky. The capitals? Clouds were thick now, heavy with dust stirred by descending ships. The air felt charged, the way it does before lightning strikes. Children cried. Old veterans of other alien wars simply stood still, staring at the fleet like ghosts had returned. Then, without warning, the sky cracked. A sonic boom echoed through. The city a drop pod slammed into the center square, cratering stone. Shattering glass from it, rose another human taller than the last, unarmed, but clad in armor that shimmered with blue-black plates and etched battle histories. His helmet split open with a hiss, revealing a scarred face, half machine, half dash man. He didn't greet anyone. He simply scanned the square, then walked forward. Behind him, more pods full, each containing one human. No army, just individuals, each one a living weapon. The Nellerie called them envoys, but Earth called them what they truly were. They fanned out through the city. One walked into the main power grid and began taking readings. Another entered a government building, took samples of data, and walked out. A third approached a weapons facility, inspected the shields, then simply left. Each acted alone. Each reported silently to orbit and all across the planet. The message became clear. Earth was not interested in discussion. Earth was conducting a threat audit, and the Nellerie were the subject. Back on the Obsidian Lance, Commander Voss received the first report. Minimal defense systems, no military fleet in orbit, no energy buildup below the crust. But something strange. A hidden relay station transmitting to unregistered coordinates. Voss raised one eyebrow. Looks like peace isn't so peaceful. Her aide turned. Shall we engage? Voss stared at the screen. She could see the entire city. She saw the Nellerie looking up at the sky. She saw the diplomat staring in confusion. She saw the hope, the fear. And still she didn't blink. No, she said finally. Not yet. She leaned forward and issued one simple command. Send the message. And so, the humans finally spoke. Across every channel. One phrase was transmitted into the minds of the Nellerie. We received your request for peace, but peace is not declared. Peace is proven. And silence returned. But now that silence was worse than any threat, because it meant the next move wasn't Earth's, it was the Nelleries, and they had no idea what to do. The Nellerie High Council gathered in absolute silence, their usual calm replaced with tension thick enough to choke the room. 1,000 years of diplomacy had taught them how to read faces, tone, posture, but Earth gave them nothing. No emotions. No responses. Just soldiers moving like ghosts across their cities, silently observing everything and reporting back to a fleet that watched like a sleeping god above their world. They had invited peace. What arrived felt more like judgment. High Counselor Valerith's voice finally broke the tension. We must try again. Let them know we mean no harm. An aide hesitated. Counselor, the humans are already here. They're not asking questions, they're watching. Like they already know the answers. Another added. And what if the answers they find are not what they want? No one replied. Because deep down, they all feared the same thing. Earth's silence wasn't due to confusion. It was the silence of decision across the Nellerie capital. The human evaluators continued their movements, precise, calm, and wordless. One walked through a hospital, scanning genetic data with a device that hovered just above the surface of each screen. Another stood in a crowded market, watching how citizens reacted to fear. Third had entered the orbital command hub with no clearance, yet no one had stopped him, because no one dared. The humans didn't ask for permission. They moved as if they already had authority, and in a way, they did because they came not as guests, But as judges near the edge of the government district, a lone Nellery technician named Arion watched one of the humans work in silence. The human stood in front of a data vault, fingers moving slowly across its sealed surface. He didn't use tools. He didn't force entry. He simply touched the vault, and the vault responded. Opened. Arion. Single quotes. Eyes widened. How? The human turned slightly. His voice was deep and quiet. Your encryption is based on logic systems first developed on Mars. Arion blinked. You knew our codes? The human didn't answer. Instead, he asked, Why are you hiding transmission logs from orbit? The question cut deeper than any weapon. Orion took a step back. That's classified, the human's head tilted. You requested peace. While communicating with other powers? Powers Earth has marked as hostile. Arion's voice shook. We didn't intend anything. Those were diplomatic exchanges. The human's next words were simple, cold. Intentions don't matter. Patterns do. And with that, he walked away. Orbiting high above, Commander Tyra Voss stared at the stream of reports filling her screen. Multiple data intercepts. Hidden. Transmissions to unknown receivers. Energy fluctuations beneath the capital low level. But persistent. Not military grade, but not harmless. Voss leaned back in her chair. It's the same pattern, she murmured. Her second-in-command looked over. The Algren Treaty breach. The Rinfall betrayal. The Vosker incident. Voss nodded. Soft diplomacy on the surface. Secret dealings underneath. Offer peace. Prepare for power. She narrowed her eyes, and every time Earth waited. Every time we hoped. But every time it ended in war. She stood and walked toward the hollow map of the Nellery system. They think we don't understand them, but we do. We've seen it too many times. She tapped the screen. Activate silent mode gamma. Ground teams are to return.
Ow.
Target locks. Held, but not armed. Back on the surface, all human soldiers stopped moving at once. Their armor lights dimmed, their helmets sealed, and they turned. One by one toward the sky, to the obsidian lance. Then, without a word, they walked away. People watched from rooftops, from towers. From alleys turned into dread. It wasn't a retreat, it was a reset, and everyone felt it. Whatever. Earth had come to learn it, had learned enough now. It would decide. In the Nellery command tower, Counselor Velarith watched the sky through, trembling fingers. What are they waiting for? She whispered. One of her defense ministers turned to her, voice hollow. They're giving us a choice. She looked at him. What choice? His answer chilled the room. To admit the lie, or be buried with it. Across the stars, other alien species began to panic. Old enemies of Earth, the ones who had once tasted its furious, started shifting fleets and scrambling alliances. The Nellery's peace call had activated something far worse than war. It had awakened the Deathworlders' curiosity. And once Earth was curious, only two endings were possible. Peace, backed by absolute truth, or war, delivered without mercy. Back in orbit. Voss stared out the viewing glass. Below her, the planet spun quietly. Above her, the stars were still, but in her mind the silence screamed. With answers she didn't want, but answers that made her decision simple. She turned to her comms officer. Draft the final message. Broadcast to the Nellery Council only. The officer nodded. Message. Voss didn't blink. Just one. Sentence. You called for peace. Now you will prove you deserve it. Long before the Nellery ever sent their signal of peace, long before Earth was quiet and cold in the political charts of the stars, humanity had burned in a war so devastating that it nearly wiped them from existence. It started not with invasion, with trust. Centuries ago, Earth accepted an alliance from a distant race, the Zur coalition, who came speaking of peace, trade, and shared knowledge. They spoke with smiles and offered gifts. Earth accepted. The humans welcomed them. gave the Zur access to technology, trade routes, and defensive systems. And then the Zur betrayed them. The attack came without warning. Earth's satellites were already offline. Their fleets were split, their AI core sabotaged. The Zur had used the time of peace to prepare for total planetary decapitation. What followed was not war, it was extinction. They called it the War of Ash. Earth's skies turned black with debris. Megacities fell in ours. Billion-strong populations vanished overnight. And in the center of it all, humanity stood not with unity, but broken across borders, beliefs, and blame. For a time, it seemed like the species would not survive itself. But something changed. Survival instincts turned into something colder, smarter. Humanity didn't just rebuild, it rewrote itself. Gone were the weak diplomatic systems. Gone were the fractured armies. In their place, Earth created the Council of Shadows, a silent directive that operated above all governments. It answered to no flag, no leader, no emotion. Its only law: never let history repeat. From the ashes, the Deathworlder protocol was born, humans trained in the dead zones of post-war Earth, forged in storms, radiation, famine, and fire. Children raised without luxury, soldiers without politics, thinkers without pride. They were made not to conquer, but to preempt, to observe potential threats, to test sincerity, to strike only when needed, but when they struck, it would be total. Earth called them peacekeepers. The galaxy called them monsters, because they never spoke. Twice Commander Voss remembered it well. Her great-grandfather had survived the Zur betrayal. He had watched his city vanish under an orbital lance. Stories weren't told as legends. They were taught as warnings. Warnings that Voss had memorized since she was 5. So when the Nellery message came, beautiful, polite, and hopeful, didn't see peace. She saw the pattern. Too perfect. Too eager. Too timed. That was what made it dangerous. It wasn't just what the Nellery said. It was how they said it. Orbiting above Neller Prime, Voss stood in the core of the obsidian lance, the war room glowing with red light scans. All data had been collected, all reports complete, and one conclusion kept repeating. A hidden relay station below the diplomatic chamber. Stealth communications using ghost band frequencies. Is illegal across all interstellar protocols. Contact logs with 3 systems known to harbor cybernetic militias. Hidden tech that violated Peace Code 926A. And yet, they had sent a signal to Earth, calling for peace. The only possible answer? They were stalling. Buying time, setting a trap, and Earth had seen this game before. Voss didn't rage. She didn't scream. She simply walked into the black chamber.
That place.
No one entered unless action was inevitable. There, she spoke to the AI that controlled the fleet's most secret weapon. Judgment mode. A full planetary lockout. Energy suppression. Mass teleport intercepts. No one leaves. No one hides. Not until the truth is made public. On the surface, the Nellery Council was still in emergency session. They had received Earth's last message. Now you will prove you deserve peace. But how? What did that mean? Counselor Velerith paced the floor, her eyes hollow. They've given us no demands, no requirements, no timeline. What are we supposed to do? Her aide spoke quietly. They want honesty, full transparency, no lies. Then give them everything, Velerith snapped. Every file, every transmission. Another counselor hesitated. But if they see we were communicating with the Grell Confederacy, they already know, Velerith said, her voice low. This isn't about evidence. It's about admission. They want us to confess. And that terrified her. Meanwhile, Voss watched as the relay station lit up again. A final signal was sent to the Grell, encrypted, short, and panicked. Her AI intercepted it instantly. Translation confirmed. Abort plan. Earth knows. Too late. Voss said nothing. She simply touched the command console. A single pulse was fired from orbit. Targeting the underground relay, it vanished in a blink, clean, precise, lethal, and then Earth sent one last message. Only 3 words. This was mercy. High above Neller Prime, the orbiting Deathworlder fleet hung like black thunderclouds, unmoving, watching, ready. Down below, the Nellery Council had finally stopped pretending. The truth had slipped through the cracks like a slow, poisonous gas one. Whisper at a time, one log uncovered after another. Earth already knew. The humans had seen everything. The secret transmissions, the coded signals, the hidden deals with Grell Confederacy warlords. The signal of peace wasn't pure. It had been sent with dual purpose. One beam to Earth, and one shadowed signal in the same breath to the Grell. Earth is responding. Ready the program. That program was a covert operation planned by the Grell and masked through Nellery Channels 1 meant to cripple Earth's deep space sensors, corrupt its AI security systems, and break into the old Earth Gate network. The idea was simple. Use the illusion of diplomacy to lower Earth's defenses just long enough for Grell's cyber infiltration to succeed. The Nellery would remain innocent on paper while their war allies struck from the shadows. It had worked before with other empires. It was supposed to work again. But Earth was not like other empires. Earth had learned, and Earth never gave second chances. Commander Tyra Voss stood in the darkened tactical chamber of the Obsidian Lance, watching as the decrypted data streamed across the holographic screen. Everything was confirmed, not speculation, not guesses. Proof her analysts had cracked the message. It was 2 days before the fleet ever arrived. That's why she brought the full armada. Earth hadn't come to talk. Earth had come to listen. And give the Nellery a chance to tell the truth. They hadn't. And now, there would be consequences. Voss activated the fleet-wide command link. Level 3 readiness. All weapons systems cold. Safety's off. No fire unless confirmed counterstrike. Begin orbital lockdown. Her officers moved without speaking. The Deathworlders had their orders, and the galaxy was about to remember what that meant. Meanwhile, in the Nellery capital, the panic had turned inward. Counselor Velareth stood at the center of the main chamber, her voice breaking as she addressed the others. They know all of it. Earth cracked our relay codes. They saw everything we sent to the Grell. Whispers exploded through the room. One counselor stood. Then we must explain. Explain? Velareth snapped. Explain what? That we tried to bait the most dangerous species in the galaxy into a cyber war. Another voice spoke quietly, almost a whisper. The Grell told us Earth's defenses were outdated, that their fleets were dust, and the Grell lied, Velareth said bitterly. And now we pay for trusting them. The council chamber fell into silence. Then Velareth looked up. Send the confession, she said. Full transmission. Send it to Earth now. The message reached the Obsidian Lance within seconds. It was brief, direct, and most importantly, honest. We acted out of fear. The Grell offered us protection. We were afraid Earth would reject our peace. So we played both sides. We were wrong. We surrendered to judgment. Voss read the words slowly. She didn't smile. She didn't relax. She simply asked her second-in-command, how long until the Grell ships arrive? The officer checked the long-range scans. 17 hours, 5 destroyers, 1 command carrier. Voss nodded. So they didn't get the abort signal fast enough. She turned back to the screen. Let's make sure they never send another. On the surface, the Nellery people watched as the sky changed again. The Deathworlder ships began to move not toward the capital, but outward, toward the edges of the system. A great shadow passed over the moons, and a trail of light burned through. The stars, the humans weren't coming to destroy them. They were going to meet the Rel stood in the forward control room, eyes fixed on the target path. She didn't hesitate. Launch full intercept pattern. Grell, arrival. Corridor. 0 tolerance. Her voice was calm, absolute cold, because she knew what was coming wasn't just an attack, it was a final test. If the Grell made one aggressive move, if they powered shields, armed weapons, or sent a drone, Earth would erase them. Not as revenge. Not in anger, but in enforcement. And so the Deathworlder fleet moved. It's into position, not to speak, not to warn, but to respond. The Nellari had seen Earth's judgment, now the Grell would feel its execution. 17 hours passed. The space beyond the Nellari star system stirred faint distortions first, then gravitational tremors. Ships began appearing one by one, piercing the blackness with metallic gleam and silent threat. The Grell Confederacy had arrived. 5 destroyers, 1 command carrier, armed and armored. Their hulls bristled with plasma cannons and cloaking nodes. Their formation was tight, defensive. They were ready for trouble, but confident in their tech. After all, they had done this before. They expected delay, negotiation, talks, warnings. But Deathworlders didn't give warnings. They gave consequences. Commander? Tyra Voss stood at the heart of the Obsidian Lance. Her holographic display flared red. With new data Grell engines, shield patterns, energy output, the fleet's AI was already calculating firing angles, predicting weapon trajectories before the Grell even powered up. Voss's expression didn't change. They've breached the edge. Course vector direct toward Neller Prime. Her second-in-command glanced up. Shall we hail them? No, she replied coldly. They knew what they were walking into. A pause. Then initiate Wrath Protocol. Execute silently. Number. Sound, no light burst, just action. From 3 directions, Earth's warships moved. Stealth destroyers peeled from asteroid cover. Orbital gun platforms blinked to life. Kinetic railguns rotated in eerie silence. The Deathworlders encircled the Grell formation before they even noticed. And when the first Grell destroyer attempted to scan, it died. No explosion. No warning. A single hyper-precision rail slug, launched from nearly 800,000 kilometers away, punched through its core reactor and imploded in on itself. Not one human on board the Obsidian Lance reacted. This was protocol, not battle. Correction. The Grell fleet reacted as expected dash panic. Shields raised, weapons armed, but the moment they charged power, Earth moved faster. 4 separate beams lanced through the black targeted blue, invisible to the eye, until impact. 3 engines were vaporized. Carrier wing of drone fighters tried to deploy, never left their hangar. A second Deathworlder. Salvos struck the launch bays before they opened. Fire bloomed in space like petals of controlled fury. There was no chaos on the human side, no yelling, no confusion, just method. Down on Neller Prime, civilians stood frozen as distant flashes lit the sky. They weren't fireworks. They were glimpses of precision. Awe turned to terror, and then to silence in that moment. The Nellari understood. Earth had not come as conqueror. It had come as guardian, ruthless, calculating, and merciless toward betrayal. The Grell Confederacy thought themselves clever. Instead, a mistaken code. Back in the war room, Voss watched as her screens reported final metrics. Grell Destroyer 1, neutralized. Destroyer 2, ejected cores. Disabled, command carrier. Hull breach, reactor cold. No human casualties. 84% of the Grell fleet, incapacitated without total destruction. It was deliberate. It was a message. Earth could have glassed the entire formation, but it didn't. Because it wasn't about death. It was about control. Voss finally nodded. Signal remaining vessels. 1 chance to surrender. 10 seconds. On the Grell bridge, alarms screamed. Power failing. Weapons dead. Then came the message. No translation error. Just 1 sentence. This is restraint. Surrender or be erased. The Grell captain had only one response. He powered down everything. The battle, if it could be called that, was over in less than 4 minutes. The Nellari watched it unfold in shocked silence. And all across the galaxy, from the distant rim to the ancient empires of the core worlds, the same message spread. Earth had awakened. Yes. Deathworlders had returned. And there would be no more lies. The stars had barely settled from the Grell's defeat when Earth made its final move in orbit above Neller Prime. The Deathworlder fleet no longer waited. It acted human landing crafts. Shaped like black blades, descended from the obsidian lance. In perfect formation, no music, no speeches, no violence. They didn't carry armies or bombs. They carried judges, specialists in justice. Observers trained to read empires, dissect truth, extract lies like poison from blood to the galaxy. They were feared to Earth. They were essential because Deathworlders didn't just punish threats, they processed them inside the Nellery High. Council chamber silence once again returned, but this time it wasn't from fear of unknowns. Now, they knew exactly what humanity was. The room's walls dimmed as two Earth envoys stepped through the sealed entrance. Unarmed and calm, but somehow more dangerous than any fleet, they didn't bow. They didn't ask permission. They placed a black, hexagonal device on the floor and activated it. A soft hum vibrated through the air. Then a voice, crisp and cold, filled the chamber. The Grell Confederacy attempted subversion using Nellery channels. Deathworlder protocol confirms partial complicity. Counselor Valerith, step forward. Gasps broke across the room. Valerith stood slowly, trembling. I gave the confession. The lead envoy didn't blink. Intent matters. But results matter more. She swallowed. Are we to be destroyed? The envoy finally spoke again softly. No, you will be seen. A second pulse emitted from the device, all across Neller Prime. Screens flickered on and controlled overridden billions of Nellery citizens. Soldiers, diplomats, and workers froze as Earth broadcasted the evidence. Intercepted messages, decrypted codes, Grell infiltration plans. Then came the confession, the full admission of their leadership. There were no edits, no cuts, just truth. Unfiltered, unforgiving. Earth didn't conquer, it exposed, and the people saw everything. Across cities and spires, the mood changed, not to rebellion, not to fear, to clarity. They hadn't been lied to by Earth. They had been lied to by their own. And now the Deathworlders stood silent, waiting for the response, not with fleets, not with weapons, with expectation. Counselor Valerith turned to the envoy. Her voice cracked. What happens now? The envoy replied without pause. Earth will not govern you, but we will watch. The Grell survivors are being tried under Galactic Code 7. As for Neller Prime, judgment will come from within, she whispered. So, we remain free? The envoy stepped forward, just close enough that Valerith could see her reflection in the dark visor. And the answer came, freedom is earned through truth. You gave us a lie. Survived because you told it before we had to take it. As the envoys left the chamber, skies across Neller Prime cleared. The Deathworlder fleet, still vast, still waiting, began to rise again. One by one, the ships pulled. Back from the system, no fire, no destruction, only memory. And a reminder, Earth could have ended everything. But instead, it gave judgment. In a quiet report filed back to Earth's command, Commander Tyra Voss gave her final assessment. Neller Prime posed a significant risk. Risk neutralized. No war initiated. Cultural exposure complete. Deathworlder presence no longer required. She closed the file. Then, for the first time in weeks, she looked out at the stars and let herself breathe, because war had been avoided, and even for Deathworlders, that was still the goal. The skies above Neller Prime were quiet now. No black shapes blocked the stars. No orbiting behemoths loomed with judgment. The Deathworlder fleet had left just as suddenly as it had arrived, but their presence remained not in wreckage, not in scars, but in memory. The Nellari knew they had been seen. Every citizen, every leader, every city. Earth had not come to destroy them. Earth had come to understand them. And it had understood enough to leave. That, in itself, terrified the galaxy more than any bombardment ever could. In the aftermath, the Nellari began to change. The council dissolved within days, placed by an emergency civilian council, elected by the people, something unseen in their system, for over 1,000 years. Investigations opened, archives unsealed, generals arrested, war packs exposed. Through it all, Earth said nothing. They didn't need to, because their silence meant something far louder than words. We're still watching. Far away. On Earth's outer ring defense station, Cradle Black, Commander Tyra Voss stood before a curved observation window. The stars stretched forever outside. It's peaceful and endless. Her mission log was complete. Neller Prime neutralized. No galactic war triggered. No blood spilled from Earth's side. Just the full force of protocol carried out like a scalpel, not a hammer. She spoke softly, recording the final log. Judgment carried out without kinetic escalation. Trust tested. Lies uncovered. No further response needed. For now, she looked into the stars. But they know. What followed over the next few months changed galactic policy forever. Several minor empires voluntarily opened their communication. Logs to Earth, unprovoked. The Zur Confederacy, its once thought a dormant threat, canceled all active intelligence programs, even the Grell Confederacy, what was left of it, publicly issued a statement of withdrawal from all neighboring systems, citing irreversible strategic miscalculation. Earth hadn't declared war, it had declared presence, and that was more powerful than any weapon across colony worlds, deep in frontier stations, and inside the grand halls of galactic diplomacy. One rumor whispered like a wind through steel corridors. Earth never forgets. The Deathworlders never leave. They simply step into the shadows and wait. At a quiet outpost near the edge of the rim, a trader asked a human engineer one night, "Why did your people spare Neller Prime? Could have wiped them out." Human smiled faintly and replied, "Peace isn't weakness. It's restraint wrapped in readiness. We didn't come to conquer. We came to remind them that mercy is a choice we make, not one they should expect." And so, a new age began. Not one of fear, but of balance. The Deathworlders had shown the galaxy what true power looked like, measured, quiet, and impossibly fast. No declaration. No invasion, just the truth uncovered, broadcast, and left to burn. In the hearts of those who thought they could manipulate peace, Earth had answered the final SOS not with wrath alone, but with wisdom sharpened by war and across the stars. Even in the darkest corners of space, every empire, large or small, carried that memory now, the memory of black ships, of silent judges, of a fleet that came not to rule, but to remind.